Good afternoon. Continuing this very surreal and strange story coming from the Home Office about this letter that was used to reject an asylum application, but in it stated that the applicant who had converted from Islam to Christianity in Iran and was claiming asylum in Britain, that indeed he had little to fear from Iran's death sentence for blasphemy as a Muslim, but it was indeed Christianity, his new chosen religion, that was violent, on official government letter-headed paper. A very surreal and strange story, which I think indicates to me not only the eagerness, the trigger happiness of the Home Office to reject all immigration and asylum cases, and perhaps also the difficulty in some of those cases, but on a deeper level, just how deep the rot has set when it comes to conversations around some of the challenges posed by Islam today and the unwillingness by people in polite society, if I may say, to have that conversation with candor. To simply not be able to admit that Islam today does pose challenges due to violence and fundamentalism, and that it's not Christianity today posing those challenges. Christianity posed those challenges hundreds of years ago and eventually overcame them. And so to harp on about Christianity being violent in the Crusades and the Inquisition is to completely bury your head in the sand with regards to the problems facing us in reality today. Tell me what you think. 03456060973. Joel wants to speak to us from Sydney. You're on air, Joel.
Hey, Majid, how you going?
I'm right. You're listening in Australia, are you?
Yeah, that's correct. 1 a.m. in the morning.
1 a.m. in the morning. What, you got the Global Player app?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Look at that. That's commitment and dedication, Joel.
Look, I just love your work, Majid. And I think you're making a great point about the Reformation of Islam perhaps hasn't taken place as it has in Christianity.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think we need to get into the semantics of Christianity and how they've completely misunderstood what the Christian sort of teachings is on this. Like, for starters, the first two books, Leviticus and Deuteronomy, they reference, they're not for the Christians, they're for the Deuteronomy. That's under the old covenant for the Jews. And
when you say they reference, in the official letter they sent, they've referenced those passages, haven't they?
Yeah, they reference three books. Those are the three passages from those three books. And the first two are for Jews, and the last one is Revelation, and that's to come. That's the judgment of Christ. Now, we don't even have to go into that, because what I was going to say was, in Australia, following the New Zealand shooting where sadly 50 people were shot, we are looking at censorship of any, like what you said, blasphemy laws.
Yeah.
So anyone criticizing Islam in the spirit of looking after the feelings of Muslims, that they don't feel overly criticized at all, we can now that they're looking at doing blasphemy laws, as you're talking about.
Well, that would be, if that were to happen, Joel, then that would be a disaster. And let me inform you that Her Majesty's opposition here, the Labour Party, I did a show an hour on this yesterday, they've officially adopted a definition of Islamophobia that is so vague that it is in danger of reintroducing blasphemy taboos through the back door. And indeed, the Mayor of London has also adopted that definition. He's a member of the Labour Party. And I've been resisting that here. If Australia were to follow suit, it would be disastrous.
Well, Majid, we're actually fighting. If you ever look up Australian law, Bill 18C, that's where the fight is right now. A lot of the conservatives, like the Australian Conservatives Party here, we're trying to fight this fight. We're trying to learn the lessons from both Europe with Holocaust deniers laws and all of that, as well as what you've got in the UK. And we're trying to learn the lessons of history here, but everyone's just gets emotionally tied up, and they just don't want to listen. And I'm only 22, and I'm trying to learn these lessons, but I just feel like everyone they just want to go headlong into this without thinking.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, Joel, is I've read recently, maybe you can confirm it, that in New Zealand after the horrific massacre, they've now banned possession of the terrorists' diatribe known as a manifesto. I call it a screed.
They did.
Is that true?
They did. Yes, that's
so you can
true.
Hold on, John. I'm going to confirm something with you. You can sell Mein Kampf in New Zealand, but you can't read that.
Yes. And you can't read Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life.
Well, that's in a bookstore, but that's not the government, right? That was a bookstore.
Yeah, but that same bookstore, I think it also distributes Mein Kampf.
Oh, yes, it does. I've tweeted about that. But so look at the government's position, though, because a bookstore is slightly different. I disagree with it still, but it's still a private company. But look at the government's position.
Yes.
If they've made it a criminal offence to possess the Christchurch terrorist killers' screed, and yet it's still legal to possess Mein Kampf, then, it's a strange position to take, isn't it?
It's incredibly enraging. And I think it's not only these virtues signal it. It's incredibly disrespectful to the Jews for starters, but it's important. It's just like what you said following this measure. You said we need to discuss these ideas. Sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Yeah.
If we can't discuss it, and this, in a nutshell, measure, this is what's happening in Australia. They have used this occasion to shut down debate. Now none of us can talk about this, any of the free thinkers. And now we all fear it's going to get worse. There's going to be more shootings because we can't discuss the issue.
Well, I've got a PDF copy of that Killer's Screed, and I think, as somebody that founded Quilliam, it's very important for us to study and learn that. I chose not to watch the video, and I don't recommend anyone watches the video because it could cause psychological trauma. And people that have watched it have indeed then messaged me and told me that they've been traumatized.
I'll tell you.
But the Screed itself, it is worth reading, just like it's worth reading Breivik's Screed, just like it's worth reading Bin Laden's ramblings, because of course we can then understand what they believe in, what they say, and what their propaganda is going to look like, so we can counter it.
Yes, well, I read it too, and that's why I don't think this is going to be the last of the attacks.
Yeah.
And measured, I'm a Syrian Christian. I look, you should see my eyebrows. I look like a Middle Easterner, and there won't be discrimination.
Is it all in the eyebrows? Is it, Joel?
It's all in the eyebrows.
My eyebrows are quite nice, Joel. I don't even have to trim them. They're fine. They're perfectly fine. It's my hair that's curly.
Well, just like the Lakemba riots, they'll be indiscriminate in their attacks. And anyway, but thanks very much for what you're doing.
Pleasure speaking to you. Thank you. Well, I'm giving you a bit of time because you called in from Sydney, Australia. You're up listening to us 1 a.m. on the Global Player app. You should spread word, Joel. Yeah, just get a whole Australian Legion listening to this show from Sydney.
Look, I'm going to record this one. I'm going to put it up.
Go for it.
I don't think you put your full recordings up.
Listen, my producer here, his name's Mike McCarran. He's also Aussie, so we've got a bit of an Australian faction here in LBC today. All right, Joel, thank you very much for calling in. Pleasure speaking to you. Zahura wants to speak to us from Sheffield. Go for it.